really, I think, as content over everything, say, it is the content, it is the conversation. And I had a conversation on Sunday about religion, and it got quite heated. People got upset. It went in a direction that I didn't want it to go in. And with the gift of 2020 hindsight, having watched it on video as it went out live and was premiered, all unedited, unscreened, you spot things you should have said, you spot things maybe you shouldn't have said. The long and short of it is, the debate was, are ISIS Muslims? That's the question. Are ISIS Muslims? And the people with whom I was debating were arguing the case that no, they're not. And I was making the argument that they at least regard themselves as Muslim. Okay, and religion is a very personal thing. God alone, if you believe in him, knows who is a Muslim and who is not, or who is a believer and who is not. But ostensibly, there's a good word, ISIS, or the Islamic State, as they call themselves, portray themselves as Muslim. So they're either Muslim or posing as Muslim. Now, I don't have a problem if you want to say, no, they're not Muslim. The only issue I have is what you mean by that. What do you mean by, no, they're not Muslim? Because there's two possible scenarios, two possible statements that you could be making. Are you saying, A, they were Muslim, but because of their behaviour, because of their conduct, we can no longer regard them as Muslim? Joe Lewis is saying ISIS believe that they're doing good. Yeah, I think you have to take people, you have to take their word for it. But not a problem. If you want to say, and I understand why people say this, Islam is my religion, I'm so proud of it, it teaches me to treat people well, it teaches me to look out for my fellow human being, etc., etc. And because of their conduct, ISIS cannot possibly qualify as Muslim. No problem. I don't have a problem with that. And I can understand why you would want to say that. And there's a word for those people from within the Muslim religion itself, which is the Khawarij. People that have exited the religion. By their conduct, they can no longer be considered part of the religion. However, if you ask them, they will tell you, and they will believe it, they think they are following that religion. So from my perspective, ISIS are Muslims, but they are very, very bad Muslims. They are the worst example of Muslims. And they are a disgrace, but etc., etc. And I can understand why you would, if you were a proud and devout Muslim, you wouldn't want the definition to include them. Jordan M is saying, I agree, Julian, ISIS are Muslim. And for those of you who don't know, Jordan M is himself also a Muslim. And there's 100% agreement there from Joe Lewis. Thank you very much. Named after the great brown bomber who reigned supreme in the heavyweight division. Oh, don't get me started on boxing. I'd much rather talk about boxing than extreme religion. Okay, there's part one. Part two, the dangerous answer that we touched upon in the park. And this is why I pursued the argument, and I wish I'd done it in a slightly more tactful way. But when you say, not only are they not Muslim, but they are people of another religion pretending to be Muslims, now we're on dangerous territory. Now you are looking like a tinfoil hat wearer who can't take any criticism of his or her religion, and the minute someone does something bad in the name of your religion, you start saying, that's not our lot, that's another lot pretending to be us. This is dangerous territory. With 1.5 billion Muslims in the world, some of them are bound to be sadistic. Some of them are bound to be mentally ill. And with the poverty in the Muslim world, with the occupation, with the war, with the terror that has rained down on vast swathes of the Muslim world, it's not a surprise that some parts of the Muslim world are fertile ground for radicalization. But if you're just going to bury your head in the sand and say, no, these people are members of a different religion, or these people are non-religious Americans, CIA agents or whatever, who are pretending to be Muslims, you're on dangerous ground there. And I think you weaken your case. And that was the red rag to the bull for me. And I wish I'd sort of addressed it more head on and asked these people exactly what they meant. Is it A or B? Are they Muslims that have left the religion because they're too extreme and they're misguided? Or is it B, people dressed up as bad people dressed up as Muslims? And this is why I made the comparison with the Irish Republican movement and what happened in Ireland. And it's a regrettable comparison because I don't think these are parallels. And when people think that the conflict in Ireland is about religion and it's about Catholic versus Protestant, that's actually a myth. There's elements of that, but originally the people fighting for independence from Britain for Ireland were an amalgamation of Protestants and Catholics who were working together. They called themselves the United Irishmen, and they were socialist in outlook, and they wanted to create a new secular republic. Nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Catholic. The IRA, the majority of them may have been from a Catholic background, but they never said, we are doing this for God, or we are doing this for the Pope. They did it for socialism and Irish nationalism. The difference with Islamic fundamentalist groups, or whatever name you want to call them, whichever politically correct term you prefer, and we don't like to call them extreme Muslim, because as Modine said, if they were extreme Muslims, they would be extremely peaceful. And as was mentioned in another video, if being Muslim or following Islam is about being towards the wasat, or the middle, or similar to the middle way that Buddha spoke about, how can you be an extreme moderate? Let's do a few messages. Ty saying, hey Julian, thanks for the interview with Olumba boo. Shame Olumba was trying to preach during the interview. Ty, I told you. What did I tell you? I told you. What did I say would happen? Exactly what happened. And when did I tell you? A long time before. But hey, we gave it a try. It's always worth a try. And Ty's also saying, hey Julian, what do you think of Muammar Gaddafi? Do you think he helped the Irish cause? Yeah, while we're on the subject of Irish nationalism, Irish republicanism, Colonel Gaddafi, being a left-leaning lunatic that he was, believing in a revolution at home in his country and resistance to imperialism, he did reach out to Irish Republicans who he saw as having a similar cause. And I think in terms of finances and perhaps some weapons, yes, he did help the Irish Republican movement. But that's not what's going to help the Irish Republican movement now. And I'll come on to this. I know we're going to a very niche topic, but I was called out for the comparison I made. And perhaps it was a regrettable comparison because, as I said, the conflict in Ireland is not, in essence, about religion. It's about nationalism, national identity. and autonomy and self-determination in Ireland. 1 minute, I'll give myself a water. Talk amongst yourselves. So I regret making that comparison, because in attempting to persuade the Muslims to admit that, you know what, perhaps sometimes Muslims do get it wrong, I made the admission that, you know what, as much as I am a proud Irishman and long for an independent, united Ireland with Catholics and Protestants all together, living together as fellow Irishmen, as wished for in the 1916 Declaration, as wished for by the United Irishmen. But in making this comparison, I acknowledged that there had been some mistakes, crimes, transgressions made by the Irish Republican movement. And someone called me out on it. You may have read the comments. It's Crimes of Great Britain. And he challenged me as to, hang on a minute, when have Irish Republicans ever put a foot wrong? And he has a point, because there is a difference between a religious fanaticism and Irish republicanism, which is essentially a form of nationalism or patriotism. If you follow a religion and you do something in the name of religion, religion is meant to be perfect. Whereas a doctrine like a nationalism or a republicanism is created by human beings, and by their very nature, human beings are imperfect, and you would expect them to make mistakes. And I mentioned that Gerry Adams and Martin McGuinness, the modern day leaders of the Republican movement, and Sinn Féin, the so-called political wing of the IRA, acknowledged that there were mistakes made. There were excesses. I mentioned a couple in the comments, such as kidnappings, certain bombings where civilians were killed. And the IRA always maintained that the civilians were never their targets. But if you inadvertently kill civilians and it's collateral damage, how many times can you do that before people start losing sympathy for your cause? And I would love to have a chat with Crimes of Great Britain. He has excellent knowledge on this subject, and he picked me up on it. I think he was right to pick me up on it. But the thing is, you don't need to persuade me. I already long for the reunification of Ireland. I will campaign for it if I get a vote, if I get a say in the vote for it. If there's a border poll, I'm definitely going to vote for it and push for it in whichever way I can. But I'm not the one you need to persuade. The people you need to persuade of the reunification of Ireland are the Ian Paisley Juniors of the world, the Arlene Fosters, the leaders within the unionist movement, because they need to join you. You need to have them on board. So now is the time to fight the fight through the ballot box and no longer the Armalite. That's what the consensus is among the Republican movement. And I'm going to move on from Irish republicanism so as not to send everybody to sleep. But I regret making the comparison between ISIS, who are an extreme religious fanatic group, compared to Irish republicanism, who have extreme elements and different factions: INLA, Real IRA, Provisional IRA, Continuity IRA. You tell me which one's the right one. I don't know. It's like trying to choose the correct one of the 73 sects. Ty is saying, can you take us through your books in your library, please? What's your top 3 favourite books? That's a good idea, and we might come to that one day. We can sweep along the select. It'll be like, who would live in a house like this? That's my impression of that guy on that TV show. Ian Mann is saying justice for the 21 in Birmingham. Okay, that is a reference to a bombing in Birmingham. There was an injustice when the Birmingham 6 were wrongly convicted of that bombing plot. But of course, an innocent pub goer downing his drink, being murdered in a bombing is also an injustice. And I have to acknowledge that. And it's with a heavy heart that I acknowledge that civilians were murdered. And I'm against that. But I understand the reason behind it. And there's a saying that goes that Ireland unfree will never be at peace. And I believe the future for a peaceful Ireland is all together in a united Ireland. But we know that anyway. Princess Sarah is saying, do you think it would work though? Or would there be war between the two sects? Yes, I believe it will work. And she's asking, will the majority will one become oppressed by the majority? Now, this is the problem. And Irish republicanism was the solution to this problem. The proclamation that not only emphasised that all citizens of the new Irish Republic would be equal under the law, and the previous philosophy of the United Irishmen that mentioned Protestant, Catholic and dissenter, as in people that are neither or, will all be together as United Irishmen and women. In 1916, one of the first political entities to declare that men and women would be equal under their constitution was this proclamation of the new Irish Republic. And something that went unnoticed when we had the 100 years anniversary of the right for women to vote in the United Kingdom, and the whole of Ireland was still part of the United Kingdom when that right was given. The first woman to be elected, and women had to be 30, by the way, back then, not 18 like men, or was it 21? But when women finally got the vote, the first woman to be elected to Parliament was Countess Markievicz, an Irish woman, a Protestant Irish woman at that, but a Sinn Féin candidate, an Irish Republican who wanted all of Ireland to be united and free and separate from the United Kingdom. She wasn't a Catholic, she was a Protestant, and it doesn't matter. She stood as a Sinn Féin candidate and was the first woman to be elected to the British Parliament, and she was an Irish woman and an Irish Republican. And I'm proud of that fact, but it didn't get a mention during the anniversaries and at the Women's March that I attended in London, and I just think that's a little bit of a shame. But there we go. And on the issue of a minority being oppressed by the majority, this is the worry, and this is the problem when you start carving up countries and saying we'll give this bit to the Catholics and this bit will be for the Protestants, or this part will be called Pakistan and it's for the Muslims, and this part's called India and it's for the Hindus. You leave behind pockets of people in the wrong state. And if the state has the wrong intention, then you lead yourself down a dark path and you end up with the wolves voting to eat the sheep. And when the Muslim Brotherhood took power in Egypt, and I'm against Hosni Mubarak, whom they ousted, but when the Muslim Brotherhood took power overnight, very quickly, in Egypt, certain things became difficult for the Christians, and they were concerns, and they were worried and frightened. And that's the problem when change happens overnight. As much as I bang on about revolution, sometimes we need evolution, not revolution. There's a little quote from the great Steve Coogan, who is of an Irish background, because I evolve, but I don't revolve. Or is it the other way around? Anyway, what you're saying is you don't want another Chris Evans on your hands. So when the change happens quickly overnight, and in a lot of these post-colonial countries, the colonial powers have left behind an imbalance of power and have very often empowered a minority. Because a small group, a minority, can oppress a majority and they are easier to control. So in Ireland, a mainly Catholic country, the Protestant majority were the Protestant ascendancy, and they lived as the upper class. And not just Protestants, but specifically members of the Church of Ireland, which is a version of Anglicanism, and we're going over ground I covered the other day. They were the very top. In East Africa, Asians, people of Indian origin, were in a privileged position left there by the British. When the British left Africa, he left the brown man behind to rule over the black man. Maybe because they're not as dark. I don't know if that's how the racism works, but the Indian minority were perceived as being this privileged minority class. And that's why you get the backlash. That's why Idi Amin kicked them out. He kicked the Asians out of the country, and it's not by any fault of their own. That is just the nature of the toxic scenario that you find when the colonial powers went to the east. The situation in Sri Lanka, the Hindu Tamils were a privileged class at one point, and when the Europeans left, the Sinhalese Buddhists overthrew them, and now the Buddhists are on top, so to speak. And forgive me if I'm butchering history here. I'm not an expert on, for example, Sri Lanka, but I've had a cursory understanding of the history and a few conversations with people. If anyone would like to get in touch and do a more detailed outline on that, I would love it. And Joe Lewis is saying, Cribs, thank you for that. Dardasha said, no one should use the name of a religion to cover up their mistakes, though. It's dangerous. Yes, it is. And Ian Mann said, to injustices, totally agree. And another example of this, when the Free State, as it was in the beginning, the 26 counties, emerged, the Catholic Church was given a special place in that new state. And there were certain laws brought in. I think, for example, the banning of divorce, which is something Protestants do permit in their religion, and something that Catholics don't, that made Protestants feel uncomfortable. And for Ireland to work, for the dream of the United Ireland to work, we have to look after every one of our citizens, and it's the same in every country. Ian Mann is saying, be a proud day when Ireland becomes one and all live together in peace. Yeah, absolutely. And 200 years on from the United Irishmen, that means not only the Catholic, the Protestant and the dissenter, it means the atheist, it means the homosexual, it means the refugee, it means you understand where I'm going with that. And that is the essence of what their message was about, and that's why I believe in it. Tundra M is saying, have you ever been to Jordan? Yes, I have. And I've been to Jordan several times. Beautiful place, beautiful country. I was in Petra, if you know where that is. Petra is this great rock formation. I think it's where they filmed Star Wars, where you've got these great naturally carved out caves and catacombs. And Petra comes from the Greek for rock. And in the Bible, when Jesus' disciple, the main guy, Simon, whom Jesus referred to as Peter, the name Peter was from Petra, meaning rock. Jesus said, you are the rock upon which I will build my church. So there you go. And Tundra M is saying, I'm a native Jordanian. He knows, he or she knows. Very glad to have you watching, Tundra M. Thank you. Gino mentions Petra is a classic. Yeah, a beautiful place. And in the evening in Petra, when the light went down and it became pitch black, I spent the night, so to speak, with some Bedouin people. And we came out, we had a barbecue outside. They cooked some barbecue, dug down in the ground, and and they played their music. It was actually an amazing night. Van is saying Nabateans lived there. Yeah, I'm sure they did. You'll have to remind me who the Nabateans are, but the Nabateans, the Ammonites, the Israelites, the Philistines, the Arameans, the Bedouins, so many vast different ethnic religious groups occupied this wonderful part of the world, the Fertile Crescent. And it's just a shame that people try to dominate it and say, no, it has to be all this. No, it has to be all that. It's a beautifully diverse part of the world, and I wish they could all live together, just as I wish the Protestant and Catholic and Dissenter in Ireland could live together. And if you translate that to the whole world, maybe we could all live together. Tundra M is saying the Jordanian tribes are very welcoming and hospitable in all these tourist areas. Yes, they are. They are very much indeed. That Bedouin hospitality. Check out Jordan if you can. So Ty is saying, do you see a cultural difference between North Africans and Middle Eastern? Definitely. And it would upset, I think, most North Africans if I said, oh, you're all just Arabs. You're all the same. This is the point. There's cultural differences between Syrians and Jordanians and people from the Gulf, people from Yemen. There's a certain idea that, oh, they're all Arabs. They all follow the same religion and speak the same language. Not true anyway. Many Arab Christians, many different sects of Islam. There were and are still Arab Jews in the Middle East. And it's a sad scenario that most of the Jewish populations of the Middle East have fled to other parts of the world. There is a Jewish community in Yemen. I wouldn't say it's thriving, but there are Jewish Yemenis. There are Jews in Morocco. I've been to a synagogue in Marrakesh. Tundra M is saying the Arab dialects too are very different from one another. Yes, that's for sure. And the little bit of Arabic that I understand sounds like a completely different language to me from what I've heard in Morocco and Tunisia, which has a lot of French and Berber influence. But were I to speak my Arabic, which comes from spending time in the Jordan, Palestine region and interacting with people from that part of the world, North Africans could understand me because they learn modern standard Arabic in school and they watch Egyptian films, etc., or films from other part of the world. So they understand the so-called normal Arabic, but their own dialect is very different. I mean, it's like comparing what I would imagine what Geordies sound like compared to the home counties. Phil Bill is saying, what are your views on the gas finds in the Mediterranean, Greeks versus Turks? Yeah, there's apparently a lot going on in the Mediterranean regarding gas. It's a resource that people always fight over. There's rumours that there's a gas pipeline that needs to make its way from Afghanistan, through Iran, through Syria, up into the Mediterranean, and you can sort of see why these countries backing onto each other have been invaded one after another. It all sort of makes sense, doesn't it? What's the friendliest country you visited? The friendliest country... I don't know. I wouldn't want to choose one at the expense of others. Iran was very friendly. Palestine is full of very, very friendly people. I don't like to say more so than Jordan, but having gone from Jordan into Palestine, I did notice a change in the demeanour of the people. I think people that have a goal, like their self-determination, their liberation, they have a certain kind of mindset, and maybe they appreciate people that show them that they are on their side. So yeah, everyone's got their reasons, but look, everywhere is got friendly people and unfriendly people. I slag off England sometimes, and in particular the south of England. If we're going stereotypically, the south of England is not as friendly as the north of England. Just an impression you get, and it won't be true in all cases, but I think the poorer parts of the country seem to be friendlier because they still have community, and people with no money understand that some things are worth more than money. Tundra, I'm saying, have you ever been to Saudi Arabia? No, I have not, and I have not even been to the United States of America either. But I've been to Canada when I was very young, so I've been to North America. And have you ever been to Pakistan? Yes, I've been to Pakistan. I think I got that flag when I was in Pakistan. That was a year ago. If you want to check out the page, the channel, whatever you call it, there's a playlist of Pakistan. I was there a year ago when Imran Khan was elected, and great fun it was. Bahrain, I've stopped off in Bahrain. I've spent about 12 hours in Bahrain, and I saw a bit of the nightlife. It was great fun. Bahrain, between the two seas. So yeah, I think I've said everything I want to say about my conversation on Sunday. I hope I've made it clear. I know we've kind of gone off at a tangent. Dardasha saying you need to visit Yemen. I would absolutely love to visit Yemen. I was next door not long ago in Oman, but that doesn't really count. I hope Yemen is safe enough to visit one day soon. The worst thing for me in terms of travelling, what puts me off is not the war or the money or the time, it's the visa. Getting the visa, that can be a nightmare sometimes, and it was hard enough getting the visa for Pakistan. You've got to photocopy this, photocopy that. Oh, that's not quite right. And I think it's such a shame because, for example, India next door is very open to tourism. Saj is saying ROP. Not sure what that means. Top guy. Oh, thank you very much, Saj, if that's directed at me. The other topic of the day, which I guess I might like to touch upon, and Tundra has read my mind. I saw your conversation with Modine. That man is bizarre, to say the least. Okay. Last night, I had a long chat with Modine, and I think he really got a lot off his chest. And he said that it would be the last time that he would have a political conversation. And he said that he wasn't going to talk about sectarianism anymore, and he was going to move on to things like comedy. And I think that's a good thing. And Modine is a much more well-known character than I am. He's a much more controversial, and it's only, I think, the tip of the iceberg. What I experience in Speaker's Corner, and people are saying in the questions, how do you manage to stay calm? Well, I'm an expert at staying calm, okay? But number one, if you're not an expert in staying calm, having hundreds and hundreds of people criticize, whether it support you or criticize you, people are always going to be divided in their opinions. And the trouble with people these days is when they don't like what you say, they start attacking who you are, and they can't separate ideas and opinions from who the person is. And that I think that is the issue. I can separate a person's opinion from who they are. from the individual. And as I mentioned last night with Modine, we're talking about Malcolm X, and that's someone that he really looks up to, and I admire Malcolm X also. If I met Malcolm X in the early days, he would want to kill me. If I met Malcolm X in his final days, he would have shaken my hand. Malcolm X changed. If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change. There's a prize for anyone who can name which film that is from. I'll give you a clue. It's either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And Gino saying Modine is a great character. Yeah, he is a great character. And this is the trouble. When you only see... Dardasha said 5. No, it's not. Guess again. Joe Lewis got it. It's Rocky, but which Rocky? It was Rocky. Of course, Joe Lewis is going to know boxing question. I might run a boxing quiz in a minute. Joe Lewis. How many was it? 22 Rocky 4? Yes, it was Rocky 4. I think Joe Lewis had something like 20 or 22 world title defences. It's still one of the longest reigning heavyweight champion, or most defences, I believe. Great Joe Lewis. Rocky 4 when he wins over the Russian crowd. But yes, Modine, love him or hate him, if you're only watching him through video, then you're only getting the persona that he adopts consciously or subconsciously when the camera's on. Same with me. I don't talk like this to my friends. I'm broadcasting now, so I'm consciously trying to speak to you without going and without swearing. So you're not getting the real person. You're getting a version of them through a veil. Tai saying, will you resume your Arabic studies? Yeah, look, studying never stops. I need to go back to class and learn properly. Phil Bill is saying, what about Omar? Another lovely guy who, if you've only seen on video when people are riling him up and annoying him so they can get a great video of exactly that happening, then you're not going to get the real picture of the real person. I've sat down with Omar when there were no cameras around, and I think he's a great guy. I think he's been bullied and riled up. I think he's made mistakes, and he'll be the first person to admit it. But Malcolm X made mistakes. Going backwards, the Irish Republican movement makes mistakes. Some people don't like to admit it. Muslims have made mistakes. Oh yes, even if you are a member of ISIS, there are many former members of ISIS who tell you, I don't know how I got caught up in this cult. I was brainwashed. I was angry. I saw my family getting blown up and I turned to rage. So people change. People are fluid. And Phil Bill is saying, I loved him in Lawrence of Arabia. Okay, I don't know about that one. I'm not sure which episode of which version of Lawrence of Arabia that is. But yeah, Lawrence of Arabia is a Orientalist, which is a subject that came up recently. But to reflect upon my time spent with Modine, I know he talked a lot at me, and people criticise me sometimes for, Omar Sharif. Thank you. Yeah, of course, Omar Sharif, the great Egyptian actor who was, I believe, a Coptic Christian. People often criticise me for letting people run away with the conversation and not challenging them, not putting them in the position. But I want to hear what people want to say, even if it's hate-filled and directed at me. I'm curious to know, and to not react angrily. It's very empowering. Try it. Try it for a week. Don't get angry. Don't be unshockable. Be unoffendable. Just let it go. Yeah, well, say what you want to say. Say what you want to say. No reaction. No reaction. And then engage in conversation. Tai saying, you actually challenged Braden very well. Thank you. And I think I challenged him well because I wasn't angry. Okay. We're going. Someone just tried to call me, by the way, on private number. If you want to, I presume it's somebody watching this. Thank you, Nostalgic. Massive respect to you also. If you want to get involved in the conversation, do give me a call. Someone has just tried the number and to no avail. They've hung up. But if you want to get involved, the number is in the title. I don't know it off by heart, but the number is there. Gina saying, nice attitude, but you seem like a rock. Well, just call me Petra in that case, or Peter, Greek for rock. How do you manage to keep your cool like that? And what are the different fighting techniques you have learned? I'm considering learning karate. I spoke to a woman that was training karate today in a shopping centre. We were on the escalator. Probably a stupid idea to speak to a stranger who's trained in the martial arts. If she deemed that I was harassing her, she might have karate chopped me off the moving stairs. But I'm curious about martial arts. She was in a shopping centre going down the escalator in her gi with her yellow belt, and I had to ask, which martial arts do you train? And she replied, karate. So they're training karate in the O2 Centre in northwest London. If you want to get involved, whenever anyone says they train karate, my immediate response is always, "Oh, is it Shotokan?" And the answer is normally yes, because that's the main type of karate. But I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know what the other types are. Phil Bill saying you would make a great Bond. I'll put in a good word to her mouth. Thank you very much. I could do a good James Bond impression. My name is James Bond. James Bond. No, it's not. That's not quite right. You put me on the spot. Yeah, I could be undercover. I did a video ages ago about could Idris Elba be the next James Bond? And of course he can't because he's black. But nowhere in the James Bond book does it say that James Bond has to be white. We've just sort of assumed that he is. But in the original story, James Bond is Scottish with a Swedish mother, I think. Not the new Jane Bond. Yeah, could be a woman. Could have a female Jane Bond. Okay, Tundra is saying, what about you? You are a boxer, right? Yeah, I'm a boxer. I mean, I've trained in a variety of disciplines, but I think I'll always be a boxer at heart. That is my bread and butter, and the one that I trained for the most consistent time and for the longest. As a young kid, I got into judo and learned the throws, went through the belts, got to green belt, at which point you had to learn a lot of kata, which is this choreographed sort of simulated fight routine. And that sort of put me off, and then I broke my toe, and then by the time it healed up, I never came back to judo, which I regret. But I did it from age 7 to 13, which at that stage of your life is like half your life. You spent half your life training in this art, and it seems like you've done it forever. Gina's saying, I like Aikido. Yeah, I've got a huge respect for people that train Aikido. I've got respect for people that train anything, all right? You can't just train in a method of combat and say, oh, this one is good and this one's no good. I think some of them work better in real world situation, but you can learn something from everything. And here comes the typical question, which martial art is the most effective for a street fight? All of them. All of them. And that is mixed martial arts. That's what mixed martial arts is. There will be people that say, but I train Krav Maga or something, which is also an amalgamation of various different martial arts. And we do the stuff that is banned in competition because it's too lethal, like gouging someone's eye out. But how many times can you practice gouging someone's eye out? You can't practice that. You can sort of simulate it and hope that you get it right on the day, but you can't practice gouging someone's eye out. But what you can practice is wrestling takedowns, boxing, punching, Muay Thai kicks. You can practice these. Not only can you practice them, you can do them for real in a safe environment, and you can become superb at delivering these techniques. That's why I would recommend MMA for self-defense if you tweak it. If you bear in mind that in the real world, you're not going to have gloves on. You're not going to have a soft mat that you can fall down on. You might have to bear in mind that you're going to be wearing clothing. So there is no correct answer which martial art is the best one for street fighting, but train something. Train something so that you are the best preparation you can have for being attacked or being in a fight situation is to familiarize yourself with that situation. So when it happens and all of a sudden you're engaged in Mortal Kombat, great computer game, a real life scenario where someone is attacking you, you are used to this. You are familiar with the positions and it's ingrained in your brain and it becomes automatic. And you move into a dominant position, you protect your vital organs on your jaw and your temple, and you dominate the person and you keep yourself safe. So yeah, you can train MMA all you want, and I think it does equip you well for a combat situation that might be thrust upon you. But remember, MMA is a sport, and you touch gloves at the beginning, and you go until the ref says stop. In the street, that's not going to be the case. So the sport mentality is slightly different to a fight or flight mentality, which needs to kick in the street. And if you get involved in a ruckus in the street, get a couple of punches in, and then if you can run away. Run home safe to your family. That's what they want you to do. That self-defense is about keeping yourself and other people safe. I've had a couple of altercations in the street. I've been attacked a couple of times, and thankfully I've protected myself. But yeah, there's no shame in running away. Tundra M is saying, I have a good question if he does say so himself. Who do you think would win in a fight? A person who is very disciplined in various fighting disciplines, or a extremely muscular bodybuilder? Well, that answer, I think that question was answered 20 years ago or so, and you can Google the Gracie Challenge. The Gracies who trained and pioneered Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu over in America set up these challenges, and people from various different fighting styles and none would pitch up, and you'll get bodybuilders trying to take on a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And the BJJ guys tie them in knots. I'm not saying being big and strong doesn't help in a fight. It makes it bloody hard work taking on an individual who is very, very strong. And if the technique level is similar, the bigger guy is definitely going to win. There is a weight category in sports for a reason. But a completely untrained bodybuilder who's never done any kind of... Look, even a rugby player is more lethal than a bodybuilder, because learning how to lift a weight from here to here in the most efficient way or in the most powerful way doesn't help you dominate an individual. But a rugby player who's 16, 17 stone, whose favourite game is bashing into other men of similar size or bigger, he will be well equipped to deal with a conflict situation. A lot of rugby players have very good core strength, actually. And I did a bit of grappling with a rugby player friend who hadn't really had any training in grappling, but he loved a bit of rough and tumble. And at first I was doing very well against him. But then when I gave him just a few pointers on head position and posture, he started to do a lot better. So someone who is big and strong, even if they have a little bit of training, a little bit of the concept of how to fight, they will do quite well. Scrubs is saying, why would someone attack an innocent guy like you, though? Yeah, I wonder. Well, if they attack you in the comments, why wouldn't they attack you in real life? And we got a question from Scrubs. How tall are you, Julian? I'm 7'1". I wish. I think I'm a fraction under 6 foot. Sub-Zero is saying Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is basically judo, but in a concentrated form. It's basically invented by the Japanese and introduced the Gracie family. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, they all come from the same ancestor, and they have different focuses. Even Sambo, the Russian form of judo, which focuses very much on leg locks. All these techniques are there. They're present in the judo syllabus if you go high enough up. But people think of judo as being the Olympic judo, which is very much about throwing and the ippon. It goes to the ground occasionally and they stand it back up very quickly. But I think judo, as much as I loved training judo when I was young, it's so frustrating to watch it at Olympic level because the fight goes to the ground. You think, oh, God, it's only just begun. But then they stand it back up. And similar with wrestling, I think wrestling is the glue that holds all these art forms together. You've got the striking, you've got the submissions, but if you have the wrestling, you can control where the fight goes. And never underestimate a wrestler. Even if they don't know how to submit you, they can pick you up and dump you on your head, and that'll be a pretty quick submission, I would think. Anyway, chapter 9 is saying, Julian, do you accept that ISIS, aka Daesh, are a creation of America? Oh, God, we're going back into ISIS. Yes and no. It's not as simple as that, but there's an element of truth in what you're saying. Gino is saying Japan is one of the safest places. Yeah, I think it is. Funny that. They come up with all these techniques and they're actually not violent themselves. Tai is saying, do you often get injured? How do you deal with injuries? Yeah, I had a few. Broken toe years ago, a broken arm a couple of years back, and nose damage to the point of no cartilage there. I've got a bad wrist that I shouldn't really be giving this away, actually, my weaknesses, but I've got a little twinge in this one that never really became perfect, but I just wrap it up tighter and use it like a sledgehammer. Another inside tip, I had a coach. When he would wrap my hands, he would wrap the left hand, my power hand, tighter than my right hand. And the first time he did it, I said, Coach, this one's looser than this one. He said, yes, because this one has to be fast and this one has to be strong. So there's a little inside tip for you. Gino saying tough guy. Look, no, there's always someone tougher. I'm not a tough guy. I just like to find out how tough I am. And as they said in Fight Club, how much do you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight? I'm not. By the way, I share my videos of me training this and that. I'm not a great fighter. I'm not the best. I'm okay. I'm better than I was. That all you can do in your martial arts journey is beat the guy who walked into the gym a week ago. And in Japan, white is the colour of death. We wear black in the West for a funeral. In Japan, it's white. And this idea, you're going to the dojo to die. But it's a metaphor. Because the person who arrived will die, and then someone on the next level who's bettered himself will replace him. Arabic Prince is saying, for a fighter, you are cool and calm. Fighters should be cool and calm. And people say, oh, how do you keep your cool? If you are regularly faced with a combat scenario And you can be calm when someone's punching your head in, or if you can be calm when someone is kneeing you in the solar plexus or trying to suffocate you, which in real life would be to death. Luckily, in sparring and competition, it's only to the tap. If you can be calm in that scenario, why are you going to be upset if someone says that you're scum, or whatever Braden said to me, or whatever anyone said to, why would I be upset by that? The guy's not punching me. You know, when you regularly in that scenario, a little argument flaring up, it's nothing. And there's people that shout the loudest and say, I'm going to do this to you, I'm going to do that to you. They've never had a fight unless it was in anger. And you should never fight out of anger. If you're going to use violence, it should be a controlled, conscious decision. And it should also be a last resort. Ty saying, what's your best advice for beginners who want to improve their boxing skills? Well, look, you've got to go to a trainer, someone who knows what they're doing. Once you've got your stance right, and you've decided whether you're orthodox or southpaw, which, in layman's terms, right-handed people generally stand with their left shoulder forward and their right hand back, because that's their power hand. Left hand, it's the other way around. Get your stance sorted out. Get your guard. I mean, once you learn and this is something the coach said on Monday. He said, if you listen to me teaching you, and I give you all the techniques of how to stand and everything, when you see me sparring, you're going to think I'm a hypocrite and I'm not following the advice. He teaches us how to do everything perfectly by the book. And then once you know that, it's like when you pass your driving test, you can start driving the car. You don't have to have your hands at 10 to 2 anymore if you want. You can hold them here. You can drive with one hand if you want. You might drive a fraction over 70 miles an hour. You got the right now to drive the car. So once you've learned the basics and you know you should have your hands up, you can drop your hands as long as he says it is a conscious decision. And I'm dropping my hands to invite you in, to make you think, oh, his hands are down, and that's when I strike. Look, Tyson Fury does it very well. I mean, he took one too many risks against Deontay Wilder, and he ended up on the floor. But luckily and miraculously, he got back up, and we're set up for the rematch. So I used to be very sort of orthodox in my approach to boxing, and I'd look at people who do certain things. I say, oh, he's not doing it right, just because it's not the way my coach or my main coach taught me, which is the classic style, hands up, bring your hands up. If you didn't have your hands up, he'll whack you with the pads, which is worse than being punched with the gloves. So that was my beginnings of boxing. But now I can see the reason why you might want to drop your hands, but it's all risk and reward. You can stick your chin out and say, come and hit me. And if he swings and misses, then it's worked. But if he catches you, then you're in trouble. And another issue on this topic that I was thinking of, I mentioned this to William. I was taking William from Speaker's Corner on the pads, and we were talking about power and not telegraphing the punch. A moderately hard shot that lands is better than a sledgehammer that misses. Okay, you can swing wildly like Deontay Wilder, who is one of the hardest punchers ever to grace the ring. But if you don't connect, and he did connect about twice, and both times he put him down. But if you don't connect, you don't put him away. What good is all that swinging? And punching and missing is costly in terms of energy. And there's a good video on the internet somewhere, where most good videos are. And I think it's Bernard Hopkins dishing out the advice to an MMA guy. I can't remember who. Might not even be Hopkins. But there's a boxer giving a MMA guy advice on striking or punching, and he's saying, right, hold your hands. I'm going to punch, and you try and move your hand out of the way before I connect the punch. And he's sort of tensing up, and he's throwing quite a fast jab. But this MMA guy is moving out the way, no problem, because he can tell when the punch is coming. He's giving him the sign. And then He says, okay, we'll try it again. And then not even, it's on the video, it seems like a magic trick, but he just slowly, boom. Not that slow, but he jabs him without any telegraph, boom, and he connects. And it's not a super hard punch, but it connects. And as I say, it's better that a moderately hard punch connects than a big wild swing misses. Check out the video. I think it is Hopkins. And on Monday night, we were training striking. We were doing a lot of clinch work and working at striking from range, striking from within the clinch. And the coach put some restricted sparring. At first, we were jabbing, and we had to not give anything away. And if you could see your partner was about to jab, or they were giving any tells, like they were tensing the other shoulder, or as a lot of people, they drop the glove and then they punch, then you had to pick up your partner and tell them, or as I like to, slap them with the pads as a reminder. And then we were doing the same drill, but we were doing a decoy movement with the other hand. So the jab's about to come, but we put the other hand out here, or we lift the leg, or we do something. And it's funny, the first time we're trying to show no sign that we're about to punch. And the second time we're trying to throw a decoy before we punch. But if you do them both each time, you're going to become predictable. You're going to become readable. And a coach I used to train with was preparing me for a fight, and he was really playing off the fact that I'm a southpaw, and this is going to confuse the guy, and he's going to be the southpaw jinx because the cross is coming from the other hand. And I said, yeah, but I don't know. The certain techniques that we had tried were not working in sparring with my sparring partner. And he said, yeah, but the sparring partner knows you, and he reads you, and he's familiar with your patterns. When you go in the ring for the first time, unless someone studied video footage of who you are and how you like to fight, then they're not going to know your certain tells until a couple of rounds in. Couple of questions coming in. Tai is saying, I come from a grappling background, and I've become too rigid for head movement and footwork. How can I improve these flaws? Yeah, and this is the thing. A classic case that we study in our gym is when Anderson Silva was great with the head movement and became very static with the feet. My bread and butter is boxing, and sometimes I will go to that head movement, the bobbing, not so much of the weaving. The weaving doesn't work in MMA when you've got a knee that could come in, but certainly the bob and the lean. Anderson Silva stood, and who was it? I can't remember the guy that defeated Anderson Silva. The name will come to me. He weaved, he missed one punch. He weaved, he missed another, and then he was caught with a third one because his legs became static. So don't hang out there. In boxing, when there's nothing else coming, with no kicks, you can afford to sort of weave and bob and weave on the spot. But footwork needs to be dynamic. When I'm training people for boxing, I often mention more weight on the back foot than the front foot. Certainly, if you're boxing at range, and this is to address the question directly, Tai, more weight on the back foot than the front foot, but don't hang out there. And you said you're too rigid for head movement. The basic head movements from a boxing perspective are bob, side to side, weave, up like this, although watch that on MMA because of the knee, lean back when you lean back and arch the spine, and down when you bend the knees. So bob, weave, back, down. 4 basic movements. Incorporate those into your shadow boxing. We used to shadow box, and the coach would call bob, and we'd do it. Weave, and we'd do it. Bob, weave, we'd do 2 together. And after every movement or 2 movements together, come back with punching. When you weave, you're probably going to throw a hook. When you lean back, you're probably going to throw a cross. So do these 4 movements: bob, weave, back and down. And after every movement, throw a combination of punches, and keep it unpredictable. If you can, get somebody to call out bob, weave, back, down, and let them surprise you with that. Prince is saying, what's your favourite top 3 books to read? Oh man, I haven't read enough books. I know I present myself as this well-read individual. Look at these books who are here. We've got the basic writings of Bertrand Russell. I'll be very honest with you. These are books that I've dipped in and out of. There's not many books that I've read cover to cover. I haven't read many stories. Many a time I've sat down and began reading George Orwell's 1984. And I've also listened to it at length on audiobook. I think it's a very prophetic book. George Orwell knew something. And I sat down with a friend today, without giving too much away. The guy is writing a short film that is set in the future. And we were sort of brainstorming ideas, and the book 1984 came up because obviously it was set in the future. George Orwell wrote it in 1948. He switched the numbers around and became 1984, and it was this look at a dystopian future. So I was mentioning the book, and we were Googling the first line of the book, which is very famous, and I can't quote it exactly, even though I read it today. Something or other, and the clocks were striking 13. Okay. And about 10 minutes after we'd had that chat, a family sat down in the restaurant next to us, and a young boy, he could have only been about 10 at the most, was reading a book. And which book was he reading? None other than George Orwell's 1984. It was almost as if Google or someone had been listening, or maybe I'd seen the boy and it had put it in my mind. It was like a subliminal message, or a I don't know what. Sub-Zero is saying, then again, even the best lose. Look at Maskim Dadashev. He died at the age of 29 years old. Very sad. Yes, this is the boxer that passed away recently. It's tragic every time we lose a boxer in the ring. And I don't wish to glamorize it or something. That's a tragedy for that family. But please don't demonize boxing or combat sports. People unfortunately die in Formula One, in horse racing. Yeah, Weidman, that's correct. Well, thank you for giving me the name. And it's a tragedy, and we must do everything we can to make the sport safer, but we can never do away with boxing. Got a few political questions in there. Here's Sub-Zero, still on the boxing topic. Would boxing sometimes having great blocking skills and fighting later is the best? You don't want to lose too much energy too quick. Yeah, conserving energy is a big advantage, and it's about being able to relax. And this is what we talk about, staying calm. You only got a certain amount of energy to get you through the day. Don't burn up your energy with anger. Don't get in the ring and burn up your energy by getting into a brawl and then gassing out and panicking. It happened to me once. I admit it. In the Troxy, I got drawn into a brawl. I instigated a brawl by panicking, and I was doing quite well. I put the guy down with a shot. He got back up. I was lighting him up with the striking. But because I had that adrenaline kick in and that panic mode, instead of being my usual calm speaker's corner self, the guy clinched me up. I panicked and went for a judo hip throw, which can be done, but without the gi, it's difficult to keep hold of anything. There's no lapel or collar to hold on to. And I flipped him over, took him down, thinking I would be into inverted side control, but quite quickly he was out the back, and it was rear naked choke, and I tapped out, and that was it. Cost myself the match. And the guy came, it was a lovely guy, Simon Ibrahim. I wonder what became of him. I don't know if he's still competing. He came up to the dressing room afterwards to sort of thank me, and he was still. He goes, "Oh, I'm still dizzy from your punches. You punched really hard. What? You were beating me standing up. Why did you take it down? Why did you take the fight to the ground?" And I said, "I panicked." So never hit the panic button. Always stay calm. Tai is saying, what is the best way to increase stamina in MMA? There is a great debate. The traditional boxing approach for stamina is you get up at 5 a.m, down your raw eggs, and you go for a run, and that's going to make you really strong with the stamina. But that doesn't really replicate what happens in a boxing match. And my coach would say, do your road work, but don't just, as in go running, but don't just plod along for an hour like you're training for a marathon. Run up a hill, walk back down, run up a hill. Look in the distance, see a lamppost, so I'm going to sprint to that lamppost. Jog to the next one, sprint to the next one. I think interval training simulates what's happening in a fight more so than just plodding along. But fighting, boxing and MMA, they are a mix of aerobic and anaerobic. They are aerobic in the sense that you are doing a long drawn-out activity for a long period of time, especially if you're fighting at professional level, which I have never done. I am not a professional, despite what some people have exaggerated. If you're fighting a 5-round fight, 5 times 5 minutes, and you're fighting for 25 minutes, you need the long endurance stamina as well as the anabolic explosive power and the ability to fire on all cylinders for a very short period of time and then recover and in these explosive bursts. And as mentioned in a video I shot up at the MMA club, the coach said being overly muscled is very costly when it comes to firing on all cylinders and getting the blood pumping around all those muscles. I hope that helps you with the stamina, but I think being able to conserve energy rather than just physically training and saying, right, I'm going to do sport and train in a way that simulates the sport. Marathon runners need to simulate running for a long time. Boxers need to train cardio that mimics what you're going to encounter in the fight. Same for MMA fighters. Sub-Zero saying, I like Triple G. Fighting mindset is immensely great. Yeah, Triple G is something special. And I read somewhere that Triple G had a boxer who was even better at boxing than him. His older brother, I think. But being the older brother, he took the responsibility to go and get a job and work and provide for the family back in Kazakhstan. And Gennady Golovkin, the younger brother, he went down the boxing path and represented, I think he represented Kazakhstan in the Olympics. Certainly turned pro and became a world champion. And he very humbly says, you know what, my boxer was, my brother was a better boxer than I. It's a nice little story. Chapter 9, how's your grappling game? It's improved, and I love improving. And that's part of the beauty of going from boxing more to MMA. You've got new things to learn. Boxing is a beautiful sport. It's a beautiful dance with several moves, but once you've learned the jab, the cross, the uppercut, the hook, and the screw shot, what else is there to learn? You can become superb at delivering those punches, and there are infinite combinations that you could throw, but that's pretty much it. But when you transition to MMA, where you can incorporate some of that boxing and tweak it a little bit, but now you've got kicks to think about, now you've got grappling to think about. I mean, grappling, it's like a chess match, and there are infinite combinations and scenarios and positions that you could end up in. So my ground game has improved. If I could grapple the version of me from 5 years ago, I'm sure I'd tie him up in knots. And it took me a while to sort of remember the judo that I had trained as a kid, and it sort of comes back to you. But like I say, without the gi, it's a different ball game, or it's not a ball game. Sub-Zero saying that's true. Max was better than his brother Gennady. There you go. He's even got the name. Max was the older Golovkin brother. Yeah, man. There's so much to learn. There's so much to learn, and so little time to learn it. Well, look, we haven't had any phone calls. If any one of you 23, someone attempted it and bottled it. If anyone does want a chat, the number, I think I put it in the description. The number is, and I quote, 07414 763 859. If you want to do a chat, give it a try, and we'll see how well the sound works. But no pressure. Keeping it kind of informal. I know I've gone way off topic of what I wanted to talk about, but that's the way it goes. I've got WhatsApp. Yeah, if you want to call me on WhatsApp, that number will work on WhatsApp. Once again, the number to call is 07414 763 859. Trying to sound as best I can as a radio presenter, which was a previous hobby of mine. Yeah, again, amateur, not professional. And I've done so many things for a hobby, and a few things for a job. Yeah, if you want to call me on WhatsApp, that will be completely free of charge. And if you want to call me private number, no problem. And as they used to say, remember to get permission from the bill payer before you make the call. They don't say that anymore. Say this. Sorry, I want a chat, but my English is bad. Gino, that's all right. What language do you speak? I might be able to translate badly. We don't. Or you could give us a message in your own language, Gino. Gino. I'm just going to guess that you're Italian from your name. That could be a terrible guess, and sorry if I've made the wrong assumption. But yeah, if you want to do a little shout out in Italian and then hang up the phone, please go for it. By the way, down the line, I'm going to be going... Oh, Flemish! My goodness. That was a curveball. So Flemish, from what I understand, is a dialect of Dutch. It must sound similar to Dutch, right? I've been to Belgium, and you're half Italian. Okay, so I presume you can speak Flemish and perhaps Italian as well. You're typing very well in English. Credit to you. Yeah, down the line, I will be broadcasting live on a Sunday night after I've wrapped things up in Speaker's Corner. Colin Alloy is saying, unfortunately, the bill payer is not giving me permission to call you. Well, Colin, I'm glad that you asked permission, and we wouldn't want to get you or the show in trouble. But spread the word, guys. Those of you that are watching and listening tonight, I really appreciate your time, and thank you for staying with me. This will get better. It will get more focused. And we'll go regularly on Sunday nights. If we call it 10 o'clock on us. Oh, hang on a minute. We've got someone. Now, yeah, answer. Okay, hello. Who is this? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Chapter 9. Chapter 9, welcome. I hope that your voice is coming through clear on the comments. Can we say hello, everyone, Chapter 9? How well can you hear Chapter 9?
Peace and love to everyone.
Chapter 9 is giving his peace and love. I'm trusting that the microphone is picking you up. How are you doing? Thank you for calling. And thank you for your contributions throughout the evening. Much appreciated.
Come on, brother. It's all love out here, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I must say you've been watching the channel for quite a while. Have you've got a channel yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. I got two channels now, unfortunately, because one got a strike from media.
Oh, what got you a strike?
So I don't know if you've seen. There's a documentary by a gentleman called Jamali Maddox, and he discusses. Well, he goes in undercover and he talks to EDL.
Okay.
And I was reviewing that and looking at how low IQ the majority of the followers are.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they just gave me a strike straight away. No fair usage, no nothing.
Really? On what grounds? On hate speech or copyright or what?
Copyright, straight copyright.
Really? Because you know what?
Yeah.
Now and then I like to feature a little bit of music in my videos, and I might play something if I think it fits or it. I mean, don't tell Tevin Campbell what I've been doing with his song at the beginning of my channel. But I've had copyright claims come in, but it's never been a problem for the channel, and it's never gone down as a strike. So I don't know how I think I've been very lucky to avoid a strike, and I don't know what you do if you get one. You just plead innocence, or
you can plead innocence. I'll be honest with you, brother. I'm dyslexic.
Okay.
My writing ain't that great. Like, I can read fairly well, but writing-wise, I'm terrible. So I tried to avoid forms and such.
Yeah. Do you know what? As I was saying, that was the only thing that put me off Pakistan. I'm a bit dyslexic. I've never been diagnosed, but I'm sure I'm dyslexic in some way, because I always struggled with copying things, and I would miss letters. And they can make things difficult for you. It's like paying for the parking ticket is always a hassle, but paying the fine is nice and easy. You know, they make it easy when they want to, and make it difficult when they don't want to.
Yeah, definitely. They give you a little discount if you pay it early.
Oh yeah. when I got hit with the congestion charge fine, which is a £60 fine for entering central London without paying the congestion charge, I had to console myself with the idea that it was only a £48 fine, because I'd saved £12 by not paying the thing in the first place. So always look on the bright side. But look, chapter 9, if down the line we go live on a Sunday, do you think 10 o'clock on a Sunday is a good idea? Is it a bad idea because everyone else is online? Someone told me, I'd love to tune in, but Jordan M is going live right now, so I need to go and follow his channel. So I'm just thinking of when is a good weekly slot to do a live show like this.
Brother, I'll be honest with you. I just do it whenever I'm feeling I can do it. I can do it then, because I can't schedule my life around YouTube.
For sure.
You know what I mean? My life has to be. YouTube has to work around my life.
Very good. Very good point. I think that's the healthy attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, well said. Well, are you in the park on Sunday?
Inshallah, brother. Inshallah.
Well, it's lovely to speak to you. It'll be great to chat to you on Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. I look forward to meeting you face to face.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, just come and say hi. It's an absolute pleasure, and I appreciate the support. It means a lot.
100%.
Thank you, Chapter 9.
All right, my brother.
You take care. Have a good night. Wa alaikum assalam. Take care. There you go. First live caller. And Colin Alloway has just broken my heart. Guilty as charged. Jordan's streams come first, lol. Oh dear. And the big KH has just joined us. Does this debate have any particular theme? Are you Muslim? I think the short answer there is no and no. I started out with some kind of direction to this evening's proceedings, but we went off at a tangent. And I'm not a Muslim. Everyone thinks I am, or I might be. Maybe I'm doing taqiyya, as I said to Modine. But it's obvious I have a lot of Muslim friends. It's obvious that I've travelled in parts of the Muslim world. And I've got big respect for Islam and Muslims, but that's the thing. There are many strands of Islam. There are many different interpretations and all different religions, and I just want to learn. I just want to learn. Colin Alloy is asking, is it true Irish and Palestinians are friends? If so, why? It's true that political Irish republicanism has stood with fellow revolutions and fights for self-determination, liberation movements throughout the world, including the Palestinians, including even the Basque region, the separatists in the north of Spain and the south of France. The Irish Republicans also stood with them. So you get solidarity between these groups. And during the 80s and prior to that, when Palestinian independence was aligned with the Soviet Union and was very much a socialist left-wing revolution mixed with nationalism, there was perhaps more loyalty and solidarity between these nationalist movements that saw themselves as people fighting for their independence. When the Soviet Union collapsed and shortly, or 10 years prior to that, when the Islamic Revolution happened, you saw the trend switch from a nationalist campaign for independence and liberation to shifting towards an Islamic quest for independence. And in 2006, Hamas won the general election in Palestine. Hamas are an Islamist liberation movement, as compared with Fatah, who were the politically secular, you could say, and left-wing nationalists that wanted all the Palestinian Christians and Muslims together to fight for their independence, rather like the United Irishmen were about Catholics and Protestants together. So yeah, times change and people move on. Burger Events is saying, what I like is that you do interviews rather than just film other people debating. Thanks. Someone said the exact opposite today. I do like being in control of the camera. I had a couple of friends come with me to Speaker's Corner this week. It's great. I mean, I'm a one-man band. I'm doing this thing in Speaker's Corner on my own, and I pitch up with a tripod and whatever. And I'd like to engage in conversation with the people, but sometimes you're more use behind the camera. I think it's great what the likes of Content Over Everything do, because they are, it's not quite fly on the wall, but it's almost like that. Asmil Muzamil is saying, hi Julian, why don't you visit Sri Lanka? I would like to visit Sri Lanka. That might be on the list, actually. I was at the protest outside Number 10 for the Tamils recently. Had good chats with Sri Lankan people. Used to work in a hotel where a lot of the staff were Sri Lankan. Here's a private number. Hello and welcome. Who's this? Oh, hello.
Hi, is that Julian?
Yes, this is Julian. Who is this?
That's Mac, basically. I'm intrigued to know, are you Muslim or you're not?
I'm not Muslim. I'm not Muslim. Although I'm tempted to do away with labels and just say I am me. But no, I'm not Muslim, and a lot of people think I am because I don't know. But I'm not. But I have a lot of Muslim friends. I've grown up around Muslims. I've learned good things from them.
Do you know any Iranians?
I know quite a few Iranians, and I've been to Iran.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Are you Iranian yourself, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Salam, Khubi. Chaturi.
Merci, Chaturi.
Khayli Mamnoon.
Yeah, merci.
We're going international.
You know a lot.
Well, no, little bits here and there. I know a little bit of jargon from every language. But with Iranian, I'm better with food. I could tell you the whole menu.
The Persian food.
Yeah, ghurme sabzi, tadik, Khubida,
Mashallah.
you name it.
Wow, well done.
No,
So, I was just wondering. So, like you're talking about the karate because I've mentioned you mentioned jiu-jitsu. I kind of have I would just wanted to know: isn't jiu-jitsu like a part of the battle where you actually pin the other person down? It's more like making the other person tap down and say, "Look, I give in."
The goal in jiu-jitsu is to force a submission and have the person tap out. You're exactly right.
So ideally, wouldn't that be the best to learn? Because ideally, you want people to tap out.
I think especially if you have a duty of care and you don't want to damage the person. What the Gracies often say that if someone picks a fight with them, they're the luckiest person in the world because they can completely dominate them, submit them, and leave them without leaving a mark on them. If you see what I mean.
Obviously, the reason why I want to weigh in, I don't have much experience in a sense. I haven't trained in jiu-jitsu or anything like that, but my cousin has.
Okay.
And he's quite he's quite short. He's shorter than me, and he's like a smaller build than me.
Sure.
But he kind of used my own weight against me and like twisted my knee up in a way. Yeah. And then for 2 days I was holding my neck. I couldn't walk around properly. So I kind of realized, wow, okay, I see the power.
It's amazing what a well-trained small person could do to an untrained big person. But maybe he'll train you up, or maybe you'll find a club somewhere.
Well, I hope so. Well, yeah. I'm watching your videos. I mean, if you train Modine, Modine's a man.
Yeah.
The thing is, through other means, I'm sure I probably know him as well, because I grew up with a lot of Iraqis.
Okay, yeah.
As Iranians would do anyway.
Yeah, of course.
If you do any tips, like honestly, you're amazing. You're an amazing person.
You're very kind. Very kind. Very kind of you to say that.
No, honestly.
Thank you.
As well as the main thing is that asking the key questions. Now, I mean, obviously, I've learned a lot from just watching your videos, and I just wanted to say, please keep up the good work. And it's amazing that you obviously have the patience and the time to actually to ask the right questions as well.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you to say that. I know I talk about being absolutely unoffendable and impartial and not caring about the comments, but I have to confess to you, when Content Over Everything premiered their video of me today, I was looking in the comment. I wasn't watching the video. I was watching the comments to see, are they saying good things or bad things? Good things or bad things? I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I admit it. You're going to be criticised whatever you do, but the lovely comment that you've...
Constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism, and I welcome that. And I welcome what Crimes of Britain said to me, because he picked me up on a good point and we've addressed it. But you will, as William said to me, you'll be criticised whatever you do, so find a small group of people that critique you, whom you trust. But the compliment you've paid me tonight is very kind of you, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Do what you do. You're doing amazing work.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say big up.
Very kind. Thank you very much indeed. Do call again. Okay? Nice one. Thank you. Shab Bakhair, Agha. Thank you. Shab Bakhair. There you go. That was made my night, that has. Lovely to get a call like that. Yeah, look, I know I say nothing can offend me. I am human, and I can certainly have my heart warmed. I don't have a heart of stone. Joe Lewis is saying sound of caller 8 out of 10. Thank you for telling me that. At least you gave me the feedback. I'll try and find a better way that we can record audio. I hope you grasped what was being said there. He was very kind. Joe Lewis, do I need to add you as a contact on WhatsApp in order to call you? Just downloaded the app. I would think you do, Joe Lewis. And if you're worried about calling into confidence, I'm not going to share your number, and you won't be surprised to know it's not the number I generally use. If you want to get hold of me in an emergency, it'll have to be the other number. This is just a number that is exclusively for this show. So if you think you're going to prank me in the middle of the week and pretend to be the police, it's not going to work. Julian, how come you're still single? That's from Colin Alloway. Wrong, you're there, Colin. That's why you're single. You're getting your grammar wrong. If indeed you are single, I don't know. Sorry about that. Talking amongst themselves. And the big KH is saying, do you have a religion or are you atheist? We're still doing the labels then. No, I don't have a religion. And if an atheist is someone who does not believe in God, I am an agnostic, who is someone who does not have knowledge of whether God exists. And how could you? He's unknowable, he or she. A good quote I heard a few weeks ago was that I've met God and she's black. Just let that sink in for a bit. Munda Sabi is saying, thoughts on India versus Pakistan. Are we talking in the cricket or in geopolitics? When I was studying back in the day, the Pakistan versus India cricket match was broadcast live in the student union. And I think when India won, the whole place descended into violence, and Indians and Pakistanis were fighting each other. They were throwing bottles. I saw ambulances come and go. Girls were coming out with blood streaming down their hair and broken glass. It was absolute chaos, and I was sort of wading through this chaos in a sort of no man's land, saying, hey, I'm a white guy, don't hit me, I'm on neither side. And hoping that I didn't get hit in the crossfire. This is back in the day of halls of residence. Later that evening, I was in a party in someone's flat on a ground floor, and the girl whose flat it was a Indian. She was a HP, as they call it, Hindu Punjabi. Remember that, because that becomes later relevant. And there were mainly Indians in the party, but a mix of backgrounds. And someone came and smashed the window. And crucial to the story also was that this girl had draped the Indian flag in her window. So you got the green, white and orange and the circle in the middle. Draped the Indian flag in her window, and someone had come and smashed this window. And we all immediately ran outside to go and defend the situation and beat up these presumably Pakistanis that had smashed this window in as a retaliation for whatever happened earlier on in the cricket. We ran out there, and very strangely to me, it was a bunch of Sikh guys in turbans who said, we are Sikhs who want Khalistan, we want separatism for the Punjab, and it's a disgrace that a Punjabi girl, who's of course a Hindu Punjabi, would drape the Indian flag. We support an independent Punjab. So I just thought, oh my God, what country am I in? I thought all these Indians and Pakistanis were bad enough that they're fighting each other, but now the Indians are fighting themselves. So look, people will find a reason to hate. Mad time. It was mad times, Colin. It really was. Sub-Zero, well, it's the X hour. Any question will do. Sub-Zero is saying, Julian, what do you think of circumcision? They say it cuts the risk of herpes and other sexual diseases. I think, God willing, in the future that you will have a circumcision. Well, if I do, it'll be live on the... I'm joking. Sub-Zero is saying, Colin Alloway, keep away from Matthew M. Don't know what that means. Munda saying, makes sense. I have HP and Sikh background. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I'm glad you liked that story. It's something that stuck in my mind for a long time. And it just goes to show you that sectarianism will always run deep. And you might look at the Ireland conflict and think, yeah, it's about Catholics and Protestants. But then you look in the Protestant section and you see that Presbyterians were at each other's Presbyterians and Anglicans were not on the same page or on the best of terms at one point. I've even heard that within the Presbyterian church there was some kind of split, and there was some branch of Presbyterians who were known disparagingly as black nebs, meaning the people with a black mouth because they used to eat a certain kind of berry. And I don't know. The deeper you go, the more complicated it gets. The bottom line is we're all human beings, and I am drifting closer towards this abandonment of labels. And I don't. It's a fair question. Are you Muslim? But there's only so many times you can answer that question. Anyway, back to reality. Going forward, I think 10 o'clock on a Sunday, I'll do this type of thing. When I was young, the greatest radio show in the world was on TalkSport from 10 p.m. and a presenter called Tommy Boyd, the best radio presenter ever, in my opinion, did this show where the phone calls would come in. Camille saying, "My man's still alive. Yeah, we're still going strong. It's an all-nighter, Camille. Good night to you, sir. Thank you for tuning in and checking in." But yeah, The Human Zoo was this great show on TalkSport every Sunday night from 10. And normally when you phone up a commercial radio station, TalkSport, LBC, whatever it is, you get the receptionist, the caller, the person answering the call who will screen the call, find out what you want to talk about, and if you're good enough and sane enough, they will put you on air. But on this show, the calls just went straight to air, and you had people playing music down the phone, people saying ridiculous things, playing clips from films, reciting poetry, anything goes. And it was called The Human Zoo, and it was crucial that it was on a Sunday night, because on a Sunday night, whether you have work in the morning or school in the morning, as was the case for me, whether you have it or not, there is still something ingrained in us about a Sunday night. It's that little bit of uneasiness that the weekend is coming to an end and tomorrow you've got to get up early and do it all again. And this Human Zoo radio show was just an outlet for all this angst, and people would phone up and just air their grievances and be crazy and be stupid and do it anonymously. So I'd love to do that. I'd love to have the phone number. You've got the phone number now. Save it. That's the number for the show. You can call me on private. You can call me on WhatsApp. And if you want to play a song down the phone, if you want to recite a poem, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. And we'll do it live on a Sunday night. There'll be no rules apart from no hateful comments. I'd rather you didn't swear, but if you want to swear, I'm not gonna stop you. And the original Human Zoo was actually taken off air when the Queen Mother passed away, and someone phoned up and swore down the phone and said that they were glad that the Queen Mother had died, and they would like to shoot the whole royal family. Asmil Muzamil is saying that he loved my Oman video vlogs. Thank you. I loved being in that country. And he's saying that he doesn't know my number. The number should be in the description of this video, but I'll reel it off one more time if you need the number. The number to call is 0741 476 3859. Put it in your phone. I will try and memorize that. That will be the number for the live streams. And if you want to chat to me, I had a couple of very pleasant chats tonight. I appreciate the interaction. I want the channel to be interactive. It can't just be me giving a monologue lecture all the time. But yeah, if we say Sunday night from 10 will be set in stone, and I'll do another few here and there, as chapter 9 said, when I feel like it. Navash is saying, I like video go Pakistan, main Jammu, my city. Oh, okay. Brilliant. Yeah, the I have to say, the Pakistan vlogs were what kicked this channel off. And thanks to Ali, who invited me to Pakistan, that was a great trip. Colin Alawi, I felt so bad when someone nicked your camera in Oman. Yeah, so look, I've got a lot of old cameras, right? It's not like I can't afford to lose one. I left the camera running on a time lapse on my phone, on my car that I'd rented, and I hoped that I could come back and just after an hour and put the time lapse together. But of course, I left an expensive piece of, not that expensive, but a piece of technological equipment unattended in the middle of the day, and maybe someone nicked it. Maybe it fell off the car. Maybe someone, I don't know. But hey, that's life. And big up Brother Ali. Yes, indeed. Big up Brother Ali. You might have caught a glimpse of him at the beginning of last night's live stream. So yeah, Pakistan is where it all started. But no one knows where it's going to end. And a question from the big KH. What's your favourite book? Actually, my favourite book is possibly a book called 13 Steps to Mentalism by Corinda. And it's a book, I think, written in the 40s or 50s, and it's about the techniques you can use as a magician to simulate the art of mind reading. And there's a few videos on the channel that you might find where I'm performing mind magic. That's another one of my hobbies. Check that out. That's worth a look. And another question, brother, what's your favourite cuisine? It depends very much on what you're craving at the time, isn't it? Food, like everyone loves ice cream, but I wouldn't want it for breakfast. Favorite cuisine? I don't know. Sorry, I can't give you a definitive answer on that one. But I do like Iranian food, by the way. And I used to be very skeptical of it, and I used to joke that whatever you order in an Iranian restaurant, you'll always get meat, rice, and a burnt black tomato, which is kind of true. And there are various variations of that. But the meat is so good, the rice is done just to perfection. So, give Iranian food a try. Kevin Lim is saying, who do you think are the better speakers in Speaker's Corner? I never know what to say in that, but let's go for Olumba. He can't be beaten. You can't beat a bit of Olumba. I managed to do it was Ty, wasn't it, who wanted me to do the Olumba interview. I don't know if he's still in the comments, but I tried to engage Olumba with conversation, and it wasn't a two-way street. Joe Lewis saying relaxing Sunday conversation. Great. Yeah, I think Sunday night is a great time for us to unwind. We'll do a little bit of anything goes, and that'll be something to look forward to. Pencil it in for this Sunday. Big K is saying, have you met Hamza Maya? No, I haven't. I don't know who that is. Joe Lewis, let me know if you need a moderator. Yeah, Joe Lewis, look, I saw Mo Dean do this last night. I'm not exactly familiar with how you do it, but I will make you a moderator. Sub-Zero is saying, please talk about fatty liver. I would love to, Sub-Zero, but I don't know enough about it. My gut feeling is that it is one of the consequences of alcohol abuse, but look, I'm not a doctor and I'm not qualified to give that kind of advice. I hope it's not something that's worrying you. Olumba is just there for a laugh on Sundays. You might be right, Colin. I wonder how many people are actually just portraying a character, and what would they be like if the cameras weren't there? Someone asked me that question. I tried to ask Modine that question, and then tried to answer it myself, but I didn't really get much of a word in edgeways, because Modine was having a cathartic moment where he just needed to say everything that he needed to say, and I was glad to give him that opportunity. The Big K, what is the most shocking thing you've seen at Speaker's Corner? I tell you what, I got to Speaker's Corner one time around midday, and I was so shocked to see that there was no one there, because I showed up on a Saturday and it's only on Sunday. I heard rumours that, thank you for staying with me, we just had some interference. I heard rumours that people were trying to start going to Speaker's Corner on a Saturday, and I hope not. It's bad enough on a Sunday, but maybe I think these are people that want a quieter. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe Sunday has become too chaotic, too much bedlam in Speaker's Corner on a Sunday. And if you actually want to pitch up for an intelligent chat, maybe a select few on a Saturday could be an idea. What do you think about that? Speaker's Corner on a Saturday, sort of a rival day. And someone pointed out to me an interesting factor in Speaker's Corner. If you arrive, let's imagine, let's do it together. Visualization. Imagine you're coming into Speaker's Corner from Marble Arch, going up the path. The trees are up above. You can hear Olumba in the distance. Olumba said, love one another. It's getting closer. As you look to the right, sort of towards the road down that way, that is where all the religious extremists and the heated arguments take place. And it's very sort of tense. And if you look up to the left, towards where the food is and more trees, you get more calm little pockets of people having conversations in pairs. I don't know why Speaker's Corner has sort of established this kind of gradient of calm to intense and relentless, almost like in a traditional martial arts dojo, where people line up in grade order, and you've got the white belts here, yellow, orange, green, blue, brown, black, all the way up to this hierarchy. You've kind of got a hierarchy of Speaker's Corner fanaticism. It's just interesting. And people are, we're animals of patterns of behaviour, and just like people will have their allocated seat in the office or the staff room or whatever it is, unwritten rule, and you can accidentally sit in someone's chair. There are little people's favourite areas of Speaker's Corner. And when I pitch up with my two chairs and my sign, I do try and move around, so I'm not always here, not always there. It depends where the light is, usually. Sub-Zero saying, much better on a Saturday, Julian. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's a good idea. I mean, that's the thing. Speaker's Corner is only Speaker's Corner on a Sunday because it always has been, and everyone sort of agrees that it is. And I think you'll always have that. But yeah, if people want to start attending on a Saturday, we might actually get some sense out of each other. As Mazamil is saying, I saw two women fighting in Speaker's Corner last Sunday. Do you know what actually happened? No, I don't know. And there aren't usually that many women in Speaker. Well, they're certainly outnumbered by men, and it's not nice to see anyone fighting in Speaker's Corner. That's not what we want. Colin Alloy saying, loved the Olumba impression. What does he actually say? Can you break it down for us? The Olumba has been trying to break it down for you for 22 years. If we can't understand him, I don't think my understanding is going to do it justice. But the long story short is Christ has returned and he's in Nigeria. And I think this character, Olumba, Abu meaning father, appeared in the early 20th century in Nigeria and declared himself to be the return of Christ. There's been a few of those in the 20th century and before. The Reverend Moon, just round the corner from Olumba, you've got William, who dresses in red and wears a crown. Not my friend William, who's often on this channel, but an older chap called William. He follows the Reverend Moon, and the Moonies, as they're so called, is actually a derogatory term, so I won't call them that, but he follows the Reverend Moon. He believes in the divine principle, as it's called, and that the Reverend Moon was a return of Christ. So who knows whether Christ has returned or not, or whether he ever came in the first place. No one knows. Autism Dad is saying, Olumbo has $1 million waiting for me. I hope he does. Big KH is saying, if you could interview anyone of your choice, who would it be? Sorry for all the random questions, just trying to get to know you and your thoughts. But yeah, no, that's great. Anyone in my choice, I presume they would have to be living. I wouldn't mind man, all the greats are dead, aren't they? When you really think about it, a lot of the greats have passed away, but maybe that's just the rose-tinted spectacles. Who would I like to interview? I've got a chance to interview a big name very soon, but I'm not going to say who it is, so it could be a nice little surprise for you. Who would I like to interview? Maybe it'd be good to put it on Tony Blair, but I'd have to have my case very well thought out. Joe Lewis is saying your new name is Petra. Rock on, brother. Wow, coming from Joe Lewis, that is much appreciated. Thank you very much. Ladies and gents, we're going to do one more question before we wrap it up. As my colleague on radio used to say, we're going to wrap up the show. It's been marvellous for me. I hope it has for you. We'll do it again Sunday, 10 o'clock. Don't miss it. That is now penciled in. In fact, write it in pen. Put it in indelible ink. We'll do it on a Sunday. And I might duck in here and there in between. I really appreciate the interaction. That is what this channel is really about, especially the phone calls. I will try and improve the sound quality of the phone call. Oh, wait. We've got one more. They think it's all over. They think, oh no, whoever that was, I didn't get to the call in time. Call me again. If you just were trying to call again, and we'll put you through to air. I'm going to give you another shot at glory, because I don't wish to... man, it's annoying. I didn't answer it in time. Sub-Zero is saying, okay, look, I'm sure it's something that can be helped. We'll seek medical advice on that one. Offhand, milk thistle is good for the liver. All I know on this issue is that milk thistle is good for the liver, so go for that. Did Jedi deserve the treatment he got a few weeks ago? Unfortunately, I don't know enough about that situation, and because it's so divisive, I'd rather not touch upon it. Maybe for another time. Okay, look, call whoever that private number was. Go on, give it one more go. If you were trying to call me again, and I promise I will pick it up. Otherwise, we are going to wrap up the show. And once again, it's been an absolute pleasure. All right, final call. Going once, going twice. Sold. Ladies and gents. God bless you too. God bless all the viewers and listeners. Much appreciated. This has been Lessons for Life. We'll do it all again soon. Different time, different place. We were here, and we're gone. Laters.